Good evening and welcome to the Pompey Politics Podcast.
Tiny Morris.
And I'm Simon Sansbury.
How terribly exciting. The road to the 5th of May begins here with the first of our virtual hustings. And what could be better than, some say, the finest ward in the whole of Portsmouth?
It's not like we're biased at all, is it?
Because
just in case listeners weren't aware, both Ian and I, we both live in the ward. So this is coming to you live from the heart of Cosham. So joining us this evening, we've got 4 candidates for the local elections for May for Cosham Ward, and this is ahead even of the close of nominations, which don't close until 5 p.m. on Tuesday. So 4 p.m. on Tuesday. So we have with us Hannah Hockaday. We have Asghar Shah, we have Mike Jerome, and we have Helena. So thank you very much for joining us. So what I'm going to do quickly is I'm going to run down the rules so that we can familiarise the audience with them. Please do follow along in the quotes, and if you've got any comments to make, please do make those in the live stream. It'll be lovely to hear what you've got to say about the show. But please also do remember, if you're not yet registered to vote in this May's elections, you can still register to vote up until 11:59 p.m. on the 14th of April. So please do make sure that you don't lose your voice, because if you don't say it, no one else will. Okay, so quick rundown of our rules. So our rules are quite simple. Each candidate will have a 2-minute opening speech, and they'll run in an order of a highly scientific coin toss, which we conducted shortly before going live. And they'll also follow the same order for the 1-minute closing speeches that they'll have at the end of the show. We'll pose all of our questions to all of the candidates, and each candidate has up to 2 minutes to give for each answer to each question. And then once every candidate has answered that question, we will also offer the option for a 60-second rebuttal if any of them should wish to do so. The only person that should be speaking at any one time will be the candidate that we've recognised to be answering the question, or indeed Ian and myself, who will take it in turn to ask the questions if Ian's voice holds up to it, because he's got the Rona. So aren't you glad that we're doing this virtually?
Oh, yes.
So if he seems a bit deep and menacing, that's just because of the coronavirus.
Well, some say.
Some say. So yes, so everybody's microphones are open. We'll only mute someone's microphone if there's a problem with background interference or noises or interruptions. At the end of the day, we want to have a civilized debate. The whole purpose is to let the voters of Cosham hear what you've all got to say in answer to the questions that we've got to put before you.
Marvellous. So without any further ado, in which case I will invite each of the candidates to give their opening address. And can I start, please, with Hannah?
Thank you, and thank you, Simon and Ian, for having me. And I do agree that Cosham is the finest ward, so that you do have my complete agreement there. I have been elected as the current Cosham councillor since 2014, and for the last 8 years, I feel completely privileged to have served the residents and the community of Cosham and Wimmera. Just a few things that I've actually campaigned and achieved since I've been elected is initially for the safe crossing at the bottom of highway buildings going over into Cosham Park. And we were successful in spending £80,000 for a very well used crossing there, which has been, highlighted and sort of applauded by local people. Since then, and following that, I led on a ban of legal highs and the closure of head shops around Portsmouth, which was really successful, following, unfortunately, the detrimental effect this had on young people. We've held surgeries in Cosham in the community centre and raised awareness of domestic abuse. I've actively campaign to tackle antisocial behaviour, and this is something I feel really strongly about, following break-ins in the area of Cosham, and I've worked really closely with the police, holding public meetings for residents to attend to address any concerns and to really reassure them that we do have their safety. That's the most important thing. We've tackled graffiti in the Portsbridge Underground underpass going from Cosham over to Hilsey, and we've secured CCTV funding, which has been successful, and we'll see that being installed in the next few months. I've championed for a new special educational needs school, which is currently going through development next to QA Hospital. We've led on anti-bullying campaigns against online social media and the bullying that can happen on those platforms, which really affects so many people, from public figures to celebrities and everyone. I've worked really close with our regeneration team in Cosham High Street to try and improve the paving, lighting, signage, and the local area. So it's the best high street actually in Portsmouth, which again is my personal preference. And more recently, over the last couple of years, flooding's been a really big problem in Cosham, particularly affecting Court Lane, Salisbury Road, Knowsley Road. I've worked really closely with Southern Water, constantly engaging with residents that have been affected directly of their homes flooding, the roads flooding, and trying to make sure that there is a resolution, which is still ongoing, and we do constantly involve the local residents there. Ever since I've had my dog, he's now 5, I've been out walking a lot more around Portsdown Hill, around Cosham, around the parks. And one thing that really came across was the amount of litter. So I actively love doing community litter picks. This is really important to try and keep our area clean. We've looked to improve biodiversity around the Southampton Road and having trees and shrubs planted to improve the air pollution quality there, and that will also go across into Gurnard Park in Medina. And we are looking in the next couple of months that there are going to be improvements around the Portsbridge roundabout and Spur Road roundabout, which can cause so much chaos to drivers and traffic, and the flow of traffic around Cosham predominantly. I have sat on a number of committees such as licensing and fostering, but more importantly, and the main thing that's had my heart in Cosham is to help residents and to facilitate any issues that affect them and to find a resolution, whether that's them highlighting that there's dog mess covering a pavement or overhanging trees that are affecting them as they're walking along a public access, or helping with any housing issues. So it's been ongoing, but it has been an absolute privilege, and I'm really proud to have served Cosham for the last 8 years.
Thank you, Hannah. So, Shah, can I invite you to give your opening address, please?
Thank you so much, Simon and Ian, for inviting me to share my pleasure with Cosham residents and beyond. I lived in Cosham for a very long
Shah, we seem to have lost your audio. Has everyone else lost Shah's audio?
I have.
Yeah.
Well, you seem to have lost your audio, Shah, and you seem to have gone on your side. I don't quite know what's happened there. I'm just going to pause the timer. My apologies. I didn't display the footage correctly for Hannah's, so that the timer wasn't running. So my apologies that wasn't visible. Shah, are you able to fix the issue there, or are you? If I come back off that image, would that be? We still can't hear you, Shah. There should be a little cog underneath on the right-hand side underneath the images. So probably about the middle of the screen, depending on what you're viewing us from.
yeah. Is that better?
Yes, we have you.
Perfect.
You have your technical help. Brilliant. Good. Okay, so I'm gonna start the timer again. If you wanna go ahead.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Yep, go.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Simon and Ian, for inviting me to to share my practical work with Cosham residents and beyond. Actually, I can hear my voice back.
We can't. Is anybody else getting that?
No, I'm getting no feedback. It's coming through clean.
We're not. It's not interfering with us. So sorry if it's a bit disturbing to you.
Okay, that's fine.
Once you finished your bit, I'll message you in the chat to hopefully try and resolve that. But apologies if that's a bit distracting, Shah. If you want to carry on.
No problem. Yeah. So yeah, I lived in Cosham for a very long time, since 2004. Both of my sons, they were born here, and then obviously they went to nursery around the house, and they now go to local primary school, which is Highbury Primary School, near to our house. I'm working locally, and I've been helping in the community for the last over 8 years. Actually, I'm a community champion, and having said that, since I moved here, I've been working in the community while full-time employee, and especially throughout this pandemic, I've been coordinating for Hive in the north of the city. I've been organizing IKEA food hub at the Peace Center, organizing community cafe for senior citizens and adults to create the community sense in Cosham area, organizing litter picking for the last over 2 years, again to keep our city and ward clean and green, working in rough sleepers to help rough sleepers and also homeless people. I've been working with throughout this pandemic with Hampshire County Council as a vaccine champion, and made good few number of videos to make BME community aware in regards to the vaccine. We have been going through this difficult time.
Thank you, Shah. I've let you overrun there a bit because of the technical difficulties, but I'm gonna just stop us kind of building up a backlog. I'm just going to have to cut you there, I'm afraid. Sorry for the interruptions. So who have we got?
Helena.
Next? It's Helena. Okay. Helena.
Hello. Let me introduce myself. My name is Helena Cole. I'll be entirely honest with you. I don't live in Cosham, but I have worked in Cosham for a number of years, and I know Cosham pretty well. I live in Southsea. I'm one of those people that came to Portsmouth to be a student in the late 80s, and I've never left. I loved it so much. I've been active politically in Portsmouth since I was a student, starting with sitting in the Chancellor's office in that way that students do, but moving through green politics. I've been heavily involved in a number of green political campaigns, including currently the Stop the Sewage campaign in Southsea, where I live. As your representative for Cosham, I would be pushing for those sort of green ideals in the Cosham area, and working for local people, looking to see what local people needed and answering their questions. And realistically, as an introduction, I'm going to keep it short. So that's all you think you need to know for me, and you'll understand more about me during the questioning. And I'll give Simon a bit of time back.
Thank you, Helena. So last but by no means least, Mike, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Mike Jerome. I've been living in Drayton, Cosham and Broke for the last 35 years. Married a girl, my children's school here, and all that sort of thing for anybody who's out of this area. I basically want to type a voice to the politics of local government, because it seems to me that all main contenders, Labour, Liberal and Conservative, all sound the same. They never seem to change their tune. So to me, standing as a what do you call it, a Portsmouth Independence Party, it makes me have a voice that I can use without having to worry about having a whip or being what to do. So basically, it's like to do. It's also in Mendon. I can work with anybody in the council on anything that's also. And I didn't notice that Hannah did anything to do with North Wimmering or Isle of Wight, and I know that they've been left out quite a lot. So basically, be different. See what happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
That's
So
me.
we'll
You got time
get into
back.
our question. Thank you again. So yeah, no, appreciate all of the candidates. Yeah, just trying to keep tight on time. So we'll now go into the questions, and Simon, you lead us off.
Okay, so our first question is probably quite an obvious one, we think, which is so why are you standing in Cosham? And if we can take that question first to Helena, please.
Yes, certainly. I've stood in Cosham before. It's an area I know very well. And I really think that the people of Cosham deserve somebody to represent them who will listen to them and take their views to the council, which is what I intend to do. That doesn't mean that they haven't got a councillor that's doing that at the moment. I just think there are alternatives who will also do that. And that's why I'm standing in Cosham.
Okay, lovely, thank you. The timer thing, to be honest, is proving a bit complicated, so I'm just going to resort to actually just running that on my phone rather than trying to display that on the screen. So my apologies, candidates, if you see me kind of like waving. You'll see that that's actually I'm indicating that there's some time coming up, and I'll put something in the chat that we have. So my apologies for the interruption there. There is still a bit of kind of feedback coming back, but we shall press on. So thank you very much for that brief answer, Helena. So next to answer that one will be Hannah, please. And I'm just going to make sure that Hannah's microphone is activated. Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you. So why am I standing in Cosham? I can't think of another ward or area that I would want to represent. It's literally in my blood. I've spent 40 years living here. I started initially going to the preschool at St Coleman's Church, and then going on to Highbury Primary School, to Springfield Secondary School, and then studied at Highbury College. And that's where I had my education. It was all around Cosham. My first job was a paper round at 14 around Highbury, and then I went on to work for a few years at Cosham Pet Centre, which sadly isn't there anymore, in the High Street. Following that, I worked at the Spa Shop with Jenny and Clive in Chatsworth, and more recently at Highbury College itself. I literally love the area. I don't think there's anywhere that's greener, that's safer, or that anyone would want to live. And so many people that I sort of went to school with or had any journey with may have gone to universities or travelling, and they've always come back. And you can see people raising their families there, and that's what I love to see. My daughter, she attended Highbury Primary in Court Lane, and I had amazing memories as a child living there, and I want her to have amazing memories living there, and for everyone else too as well. But also alongside that, there's an enormous sense of achievement when you help residents, and we see positive changes to the area. And we have seen over the last few years that there are going to be improvements in Cosham and over Wimmering as well. And I just want to continue championing that for it to be the best and the safest community area for people to live.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much, Hannah. So next up is Mike, please.
Yeah, can you repeat the question, please?
So why are you standing in Cosham?
Well, basically because I live in Cosham, well, not Cosham, but Ports Road. And that's a drive away from Cosham over the years for UKIP, where we never there. And I've been trying every year since. This year I feel very positive about it. Looks great. I'll be concentrating really, I think, on the Isle of Wight estates. And I'd like to also sort of bring back a bit of fun in the community. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I'd like to do it. And also for the old age pension and lonely people. Let's have a few tea dances or something like that. But whatever I can do, I will try to do. Just bring the fun back into, and the nice, the smiles back into people's faces, rather than worry about the 25% green tax all the time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Then I'm sorry, my screen is completely frozen up. So and then the last but not least, the same question to Shah, please.
Okay. Actually, I can put this in one sentence. Cosham is like my home because I'm local. I lived here for a long time, still living here. My both sons go to the same school. I work in the area, and I've been supporting and helping across the board each and everyone, regardless of their ethnicity, their language, or even any boundary. Either it is Wimbring, it is Isle of Wight Estate, or it is Cosham. So my family is here. Even my two other brothers with family, we lived here for a very long time. So this is my home. Cosham is my home.
Marvellous.
Thank you very much.
So if we move on to the next question, which is really what do you see as being the key issues for this ward? So it's what are the things that you believe are most important in this ward? And if we can open that, please, with Shah.
I would say actually the key issues are, the main one is road safety. Either you go towards school, near school, all these long roads, either it is a Highbury Estate, you go towards Medina Road or Wimbring Lane. Very long roads. Traffic calming measures, very, very important for our children, senior citizens, and each and everyone. So road safety is paramount in whole Cosham area, wherever you go. And number two, I would say, is pavement. Either you go to high streets, our senior citizens, they are not able to go on their scooter or even on the pavement, because the pavements are not even. They are up and down wherever you go. Either this is in high streets, or you go towards Isle of Wight Estate, or even Highbury Estate. So that's very important. And obviously we need more greenery, and that's why I've been working as a champion for litter picking. So keep our area green and clean. Go clean and go green.
Marvellous. Thank you, Shah. And so, same question, please, to Mike. What do you see as the key issues in this ward?
I'm sorry, I was sorting something out. Can you just remind me of the question again? Sorry.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So, Mike, what do you see as being the key issues in this ward?
Right. I think the money being spent on this ward mostly goes to, if you go to Southsea and you see the roads down there are really quite good, very good. You come to the north here, and none of them are done, and that they seem to be potholes at pot. And I believe it's because Liberals and the Labour together are putting the money into the area where there's. I think that's totally wrong. So I believe that we should start doing different things for the north and south. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. So could I just pose that same question, please? Key issues for the ward to Hannah.
Yeah, thank you. So I'd just like to break it down by area briefly, if that's okay, because it is a large area that we cover. So if we first look at the area of Wimmering Medina, and we've had in the last year or two especially, there is a lot around road safety, and we've been working with myself and my ward colleagues with the local school and the head teacher. Medina Road is a long road. And over the next 6 months, we will be looking to have 2 speed awareness cameras installed. This has been highlighted because of road safety from local residents, but also from the head teacher, and this will hopefully alleviate some of that. Around Court Lane, as I mentioned previously, there's been a lot of flooding issues. So we've been working quite strongly with Southern Water to find a resolution so that people aren't affected and have, you know, awful experiences of having to walk through, you know, deep water through feces, and to have measures put in such as sandbags. They've all been distributed, and I regularly do keep an eye on that. So if there is heavy rainfall, I will go out and make sure that the tankers are there to remove any flooding. Around the Heights and the Saints, so sort of north of the city, there's a lot of, especially in the summer, a lot of antisocial driving, and we're working closely with the police for rumble cameras or noise detection cameras to be installed, which will hopefully have a better outcome for, you know, residents that have to constantly hear the zooming of the loop around Portsdown Hill. In Highbury, and again over the next few months, there's going to be a speed awareness survey carried out along the main 3 roads, highlighting the pinch points of where, you know, there is speeding, and again speed awareness cameras will be installed. And we have worked closely with the school for children to create their own artwork, which will go underneath each camera, just to get the community involved, and for the schools to be involved as well. But another issue, and one of the bigger issues as well, is Cliffdale Gardens. Unfortunately, they are going to have a 10% charge imposed on them from the recent LibDem Labour budget, whereby if they sell their home, they initially pay 10% of that money going directly into Portsmouth, which is completely unfair. And we're working really strongly with them to have this removed.
Okay, just a little bit over time there, but you're in the middle of a sentence, so
Yep.
okay.
Thank you, Hannah. So, question again, finally to Helena.
So there are some very specific issues that affect Cosham, speeding, antisocial behaviour, and some of the things that other people have mentioned. But actually, some of the things that will affect the people of Cosham are the same things that will be affecting people nationally. People have a real problem with rising fuel bills, rising petrol prices, and a rise in national insurance costs. That's going to mean that the money in their pocket over the next year is going to be massively reduced, and we will see levels of poverty that we have never seen before, both in Cosham and throughout the city. And I think it's really important that we acknowledge this as a really big issue that is going to hit, and we look to try and resolve it locally in a way that the national government just is not doing.
Thank you. Thank you, Helena. Simon.
Okay, so on to our next question then. And I think one of our candidates may have touched on something there, or and I'm still getting kind of a little bit of feedback there. So if there is anything that candidates might be able to do to help with that just might make it a bit easier for people to follow. So question 3. So sometimes people in the north of the city feel the council is good enough to take their council tax, but focuses its efforts on the south. Are they right? And what would you do to counter that? And I would like to put that question first to Mike, please.
Yes, so I agree. We tend to focus all the money on the, as I say, the south, even into the Tory part of. They never seem at any time to, even the councils don't seem to turn up in Wimmering or the Isle of Wight estate. They all just seem to be around the Tory strongholds, and that's about basically it. I said I touched on the roads earlier. What I wouldn't do is spend money on planting flowers and roundabouts and on the Southampton Road. You could use that money for something else. I don't know what, because I'm not in government. I'm not in council. So until I get council, I can't really define what I'd like to do money or anything like that. So basically, I would like to just work at doing things for those people as the other side of Cosham as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'd like to put the same question to Helena, please.
I categorically don't think it's true. As I've said before, I live in the south, but I really don't think that the council are spending more money in the south. If you look at some of the stuff that they have spent in the north, so the Mountbatten Centre, I know that was a while ago, but it's a really amazing place, and that is absolutely in the north of the city. And if you look at the money that's being spent having bought Lakeside, that means that it is therefore safe as employment, because the people who owned it previously couldn't do what they wanted to do. And the money that's going to be spent on the new buildings in the Cosham town centre. So no, I don't think it's true that money is just spent in the south. I think money is spent throughout the city to the best of the people who live in the various places. And I don't think it's the job of the city council just to spend money in specific areas. And I think that's true whoever is in power.
Okay, thank you very much. And the same question, please, to Shah. I'm just going to make sure. So I've had to mute some microphones just to try and deal with the background noise. So Shah, you're back up and running.
Actually, I'm hearing my own voice back, but I will try my best. It's disturbing me.
Thank you.
Yeah, first, actually, I would say north of the city and south, there is a difference. And to be honest with you, I did put this point towards our MP when I had a meeting with her last year. We need to have more activities in the south, in the north, like south, which I see. But I would say in all of our three areas, either it is Isle of Wight Estate, Wimbring, and Highbury Estate, we can have bike hangers for those who are living in a block of flats, so they can keep their bikes. They can use more and more bikes, obviously, and they can keep their bikes safe. It depends actually on the councillors, how much active they are in the community and what they want to do in the community. If they will be in touch in the community, obviously they will grab the funds from the council and they will bring it in Cosham, in South, obviously in Cosham, I would say, and we can do more with those funds. There is so much needs doing.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much, Shah. So last but not least, sorry, I've just lost my way in my list then. So sorry, Hannah, you are next, please. Let me just make sure I've unmuted your mic. There you go.
Thank you. Do you want us to answer A and B together? Because there were two.
Yeah, however you kind of we kind of structured it as kind of A and B, but then when we read it out, it kind of
fine. I didn't know if you were going to come back with a counter. That's absolutely fine.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I was just going to go through it all at once.
Okay, thank you. So in the last 22 years, we have had a LibDem administration for 18 of those years, and it can be perceived that the north is forgotten and there is more of a south focus. Sometimes issues that are raised, even by ourselves as local councillors, it can seem like it takes longer to be resolved or for those improvements to be made. We do have more Conservative councillors in the north, and it seems that there can be a reluctance to put regeneration into areas where they don't favour well in elections. But on the positives, we do have a new A&E department that will be at QA Hospital, and we have provided additional funding for car parking spaces, thanks to investment for our central government and from local councillors. But as a standing councillor, myself and my ward colleagues, we do constantly keep pressure on the council to ensure residents of Cosham and Wimmering to see that the community is developed and that regeneration projects are provided, that we have bidding for anything that can improve the local area. And we do have success with that. So, for example, with the CCTV that's going to be installed in the underpass between Cosham and Hilsey, that was from a successful Safer Streets bid. We currently have the CERT scheme, which is looking for improvements to the roundabouts at Spur Road and Portsbridge to improve the flow of traffic. So we do have positives. But personally, I do think that it would be great to see family events again, to have more of a community feel. I love the summer show and attended when it was there, and something that I would love to see, and unfortunately due to the impact of COVID we haven't been able to implement for the last couple of years, would be a ward-wide Easter egg hunt or a Christmas bauble hunt, which was initially trialled in the Forest of Beer and raised money for the Rowan's Hospice, but we can then engage with local schools and families to join in with it, and it would just have a really good community feeling.
Okay, thank you very much there, Hannah. Does anybody need to make use of their rebuttal 60 seconds for that question at all? Wave at me if you do, because some of you, I've muted your microphones. Right, okay. We're going to move on to the next question. Ian.
Many people wouldn't. Thank
Sorry,
you.
Ian, my fault. I'd had you muted because there was noise your end as well.
Yeah,
Sorry. Yeah.
it was no, that was my infamous clock. So yeah, Wimmering is seldom mentioned, and many people wouldn't realise that it's part of the Cosham ward. What do you see as the unique challenges for Wimmering? And if I can start that one with yourself, Hannah, please.
Thank you, and it's a really good question. I do slightly disagree with it though, as most of our casework between myself and my ward colleagues does come from residents in the area of Wimmering and north of the Southampton Road. And we regularly have phone calls with residents, or we actually go and visit in person. There are times it's really not appropriate to publicise this type of engagement with local residents on social media. So for instance, we will sort of say recently that we have achieved funding for the Southampton Road, which may not be welcomed by Mike Jerome, but actually the air quality when it was detected a couple of years ago wasn't of a good standard, which is why there is going to be planting of trees, shrubs and hedges to try and alleviate that and improve the pollution quality for the area, which will in turn benefit the residents. Around Gurnard Park in Wimmering, there's currently a process where fruit trees and shrubs and hedges are being again put in, so it actually makes the area look nicer, but also when these shrubs are grown, then people will be able to go and pick their own fruit, which is really welcome. And actually the residents we've spoken to have been really supportive of this. I think it's a great area, there's a great community spirit, thanks to Wimmering Manor that's been saved and it could have been sold. Cosham Larder that was introduced from Reverend Amy Webb of St Peter and Paul's Church has worked really hard, and we're looking to have a community garden in the grounds of St Peter's and Paul's Church. And like I've mentioned previously, we have had a lot of engagement with the head teacher at Medina School because of road safety concerns. So there were bollards put in to try and alleviate people parking on the double yellows at the bottom of 6th Avenue. But more importantly, if residents do feel that they want to see changes or improvements,
15 seconds.
please get in touch. Then we can be the voice to get things acted upon. And that's the most important thing for local residents to know.
Thank you, Hannah. So, Mike, what do you think are the unique challenges for Wimmering?
There's no community in Wimmering other than the one down at the bottom of Paul's Grove, and so there's nowhere for locals to actually go. Field where we play football. I'm not sure the planning laws are there, but wouldn't it be nice to have a clubhouse there so we could have meetings with the locals? And I don't know about all this because of the fact I'm not in the council, but it seems to be the obvious things, obviously the roads and everything, and more interaction with those sort of people.
Thank you, Mike. And so, Shah, can I pose you the question? What do you see as the unique challenges for Wimmering?
Thank you. I would say in Cosham, actually, I've been meeting and listening all these residents. Even I started my campaign from Wimmering, and I believe, because I heard this is the feedback from my residents, Wimmering is a forgotten area in Cosham. And if I can give you one example, they used to have community center. They don't have community center anymore. They don't have any community hub, and they can socialize. Senior citizens can go socialize and kids can go play there, etc. So they don't have enough parking where they means parking area, and they don't have community hub. If you come towards the other part of Wimmering, which is, we call it Isle of Wight estate, the same situation there. So these are, to be honest with you, from my residents, and I met last time 47% of the residents, the same. Again, I'm doing this, just meeting residents, what are their concerns. So this is the feedback, not from myself. So I think they need a bit more representation, and even candidates, they don't go there either. This is to see the residents back after the election or during election even. So I think the feedback is they need a bit more representation in Cosham wards.
That's perfect. Thank you, Shah. And can I ask that question finally to Helena, please?
Yes, certainly. I mentioned that I moved here as a student. What I didn't mention is that I moved here as a student, as a mature student, and I got a council flat swap from where I was living in Maidstone to Buckland. So I've got some idea of the issues that might affect the people in Wimmering, but I don't pretend to know everything. The first thing that I would do is find out what those issues are by talking to the people in Wimmering. And talking to them about their individual issues. I think, as Hannah said, what you will find is that although there are some overriding issues, there will be mostly individual issues. And that was my experience living in Buckland, and the people that I knew there, is that there was a lot more about individuals who had issues and less about a community with a single issue. So I would start by listening to people and being there for them so that I could help to support them.
Perfect, Helena. Thank you for that. Do any of the candidates wish to come back with any other further points? Wave at Simon if you do. If not, we'll pass on to the next question.
Okay, so the next question. So Portsmouth is tasked by central government to find places for 17,700 homes with over the next 15, 20 years. Now, with hundreds of new homes as part of a proposed redevelopment of land to the west of Cosham High Street, including the redevelopment of the fire station, the removal of the police station, and the redevelopment of the community centre and health centre. Is this redevelopment a good thing for Cosham, or do you oppose it? And I'd like to take that first to Shah, please.
We are not anti-development because we are legally obliged to accommodate residents in the area. But I believe the infrastructure needs to be put first, and then development to bring more people in for sake of it. Or I would say, even examples I can give you is the payments I mentioned before, the parking area, the surgery. We don't have enough surgery. We don't have enough doctors. We don't have enough dentists. We don't have parking area accommodate these 600 or 800 apartments. So this infrastructure need to be in place first, and then yes, I don't have any issue with that because we need to accommodate, but infrastructure needs to be in place first. But 2 points I want to make. While I said, yes, I agree, we can have more, they need to be more affordable. I don't want to have flats where common family can't afford to live in that flat. Number two, high living cost won't be affordable for obviously common family. And they need to be friendly as well. So 2 points are more important before these developments should be started.
Okay, thank you, Shah. And the same question, please, to Helena. Let me just make sure I've got your mic.
Okay. So I am actually broadly in favour of this. The government has targets. We need to build homes somewhere. There are few places in Portsmouth where it's actually possible to build homes unless we're building over green spaces. So this is a good place to build those homes. We do have the infrastructure. If you look at the transport links in Cosham, it's almost like somebody designed it properly, where you've got a bus station next to a train station, and the buses that go through Cosham actually will get you almost anywhere, and the trains also will get you into London, etc., etc. So generally, I think that this is a good idea, but I wouldn't disagree that you do need to make sure that you've got the infrastructure in place, and that people have doctors, surgeries, dentists, etc. to go to, and schools again. So you can't just make homes and expect the infrastructure to come into place. And I would also agree that there needs to be some affordable housing in there. If it is just homes for more homes for second homeowners who are going to rent them out at exorbitant rents, then that's clearly not what we need. We need places that people can live, but it will also be a boost to the area. So you've got people who will use Cosham High Street. You've got people who can work at Lakeside. So yes, generally I'm in favour of it.
Okay, thank you very much. The same question to Hannah, please.
Thank you. Am I off mute?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, so I mean, redevelopment is a good thing, as ultimately homes are needed, but housing should always be of a high quality, and improvements should always be made to ensure that they're up to a good standard. From the information that was given in the public meeting held at Cosham Library, and the message that has been delivered by the LibDem administration, is that there are going to be 700 or between 600 and 800 homes crammed into the centre of Cosham, which has raised concerns to local residents. If you stand in Cosham High Street and you go along the one-way system in Waite Street, it's hard to imagine 700 homes being in that piece of land, and the impact that it will have on schools, which are currently at full capacity, displacement parking into other areas, on our doctor surgery and dentists, which are already limited, and it's really difficult to try and get an appointment. But housing would be welcome, you know, a reasonable amount of housing would be welcome if the right development was controlled and it took into account the local infrastructure and the actual impact it's going to have.
Okay, thank you very much, Hannah. And then lastly, to Mike, please.
Yeah, basically, I agree with you. What worries me is the parking. We've got 700. There's 700 cars. Where do they go? You know, this is a problem. Also, we've got a chance of losing the doctor's surgery, the health centre, the fire station. My goodness, the fire station is just around the corner. We've got somewhere to come and put it out. So basically, yeah, I think.
Okay, thank you very much. Did anybody wave if you want to make use of your rebuttal on that question at all? Okay, then Ian, back to you.
Thank you. Apologies for the coughing fit and the need to exit stage left, but we're hanging in there. We're at question 6. So question 6, which was sent in by one of our listeners, is there appears to be a large black hole in the cycling network that covers almost the entirety of Cosham, and there is no east-west cycling route on the mainland. So the question to you is, what would you do to make Cosham an attractive place for people to cycle to and from and through? And can I put that first to Helena?
Yes, certainly. Interestingly, I've worked at Lakeside for many years, and actually cycling to there is very easy, and there are good cycle networks further on to get you through Cosham. So I wouldn't necessarily agree that there is nowhere to cycle. I would also say that we could look at putting in sort of cycling hubs in there. But I also think that Cosham has excellent networks, as I've mentioned before, so you can get a train to Cosham and then cycle out from there. So I'm not sure what else you would do to encourage more cycling. If I'm honest with you, as somebody who has cycled, once you get off the island, it's very hilly, and you'd need to be quite a lot fitter to cycle much further than Cosham. I'll be entirely honest with you. But I think really there isn't a massive need for more cycle paths than there already are.
Thank you, Helena. So can I pose that question, please, to Shah?
Safe segregated cycle lanes and good lock-up facility can ease the surrounding residents' parking issues. It will also solve to some extent climate and more green in tackling pollution. I think cycling in the area would be beneficial to the residents, because at the moment, as you can see, wherever you go, either it is Wimmering, Isle of Wight Estate, and even now Cosham East, we have problems with parking. So more people, if we will have segregated cycle lanes, more people will have cycles, and especially the queueway staff. They use residential parking across the area, Cosham Board, I mean. So I think that can be a better idea to resolve parking issues in the wards, and obviously tackling pollution, so less cars. So no issue for the parking, and pollution will also be the least.
Perfect. Thank you, Shah. Can I ask that question then, Mike? To Mike, what would you do to make Cosham a more attractive, the Cosham ward a more attractive place to cycle?
Being a non-cyclist, I think I'm not against the safetyness of cyclists. I don't want them to get hurt in any way or shape or form. But when you narrow the roads down by 3 or 4 feet, whatever it is, the traffic, doesn't it? And then it makes it dangerous stepping out. I don't know whether you drive up and down places, but it is so difficult to maneuver when there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere actually when you've got a cycling lane there. So you know, sometimes you have to rethink this somehow. I don't know how, but we have to rethink it. The scooters, the e-scooters, well, I don't know, they're an accident to happen, and I believe they should be regulated in some way, i.e. to 10 miles or whatever. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And finally, Hannah, can I pose the same question to yourself?
Yeah, thank you. So between 2017 and 2018, we did see a cycle lane that was introduced on the north side of the Havant Road, but more does need to be done for the safety of cyclists. Looking at the plans that I was involved around with the redevelopment of Spur Road and going down again to the Portsbridge roundabout, cycle forums were also involved in the lane alteration, and there is a cycle lane both north and south of the Southampton Road, which will then provide a safer route going down to the Portsbridge roundabout. When you look at along the Havant Road, and if you were going to go in the middle of Cosham along Knowsley Road down towards Sainsbury's, they're areas that would need a lot of work to be looked at against the width of the road to accommodate traffic and cyclists, but there does need to be more done to provide a safer route, and I hope the council does ensure that there is a rollout of cycle lanes planned across the city, but also taking into account the safety of pedestrians and motorists.
Perfect. Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the next question, with many pavements are blocked or obstructed with cars parked on them, and this makes it next to impossible for people to pass safely if you've got a pushchair, a pram, a wheelchair, or if you're visually impaired, what should be done about this? And I'd like to ask that first to Helena, please.
Sorry, I was waiting to be unmuted.
Oh, sorry. Yep.
That's all right. As somebody who's pushed a double buggy down many a pushchair, having had twins, I would say that it's important that we need to be able to get through. Doing something about it is the never-ending issue wherever you are in Portsmouth. Parking is a perennial issue, whether that's on the pavement or just making sure that there are enough parking spaces everywhere. Personally, I would probably make it parking on only one side of the pavement, and we'd be really clear about which side, and that the other side, actually, it wasn't okay to park, and that was the side that you used if you were a pedestrian. And I think that's really the only way round it. The other way is to provide parking spaces elsewhere for people, and people just will need to understand that you need to walk a little bit further from your car to the front door. In order to allow pavements to be used by pedestrians, which is really what pavements are there for. They're not there for cars, and they're not there for cyclists. So I would work with local residents to find a solution to their particular issue.
Thank you very much, Helena. And same question to Shah, please.
I think spaces can be marked to park, and residents can pass by. And obviously residents to come up with a solution. Obviously, when we are in touch with the residents and we can do a survey what they want and what solution do they propose, and then obviously we can choose from there. So that's their area they are living in. Obviously, we are representing them. So let them to decide what they want and get the best solution for them.
Okay, thank you very much, Shah, and the same question to Mike, please.
Yes, well,
Oh, sorry, there was a problem with the mic on my end there, Mike. If you want to start again, sorry.
Yeah, so I don't actually have a solution, but I've got an idea that you've got to put it into practice. But all the vans parked up, company vans that are parked up on streets now, where they I used to take the van back to the company and then car home. So why are they bringing the vans home all the time? Why don't they leave them at the place of work and then come home by whatever, but that would free up a lot of space, I promise you. And also, but with those vans and everything else on corners, it's so difficult to see because you can't them. So you pull out slowly, and of course it becomes quite dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And to Hannah, please.
Thank you. So I think we can all agree that sometimes there are people that are really inconsiderate when they're parking, and in a couple of months I will be having to navigate a pram along a pavement again and around these vehicles, so that will be another challenge to undertake this year. I have had a lot of contact actually from residents, particularly in Highbury at the corner of Petrevey, and actually I've highlighted this to traffic at Portsmouth City Council about how people park on the corners, predominantly sometimes in these side roads, which does impact the distance for pedestrians, for prams, for wheelchair users to be able to move through. If they parked further out into the road, then there is the question of emergency vehicles being able to get through. So it is really difficult. If we looked at, say, Chatsworth Avenue and Hawthorne Crescent, there is a slightly darker paving tone to the road, so cars could park within a sort of a foot of being on the pavement to allow emergency access and to leave a reasonable width for people to get through. But unfortunately, like I said, people can be inconsiderate when parking. It would be good to explore maybe having lineage on some roads to see if this does make a difference for people to park in a better manner. And as local councillors, and also from all the social media sites that are available, I think sometimes it could be good just to highlight and remind people just to have that more consideration when parking, and the impact that it can have against others.
Okay, thank you very much. Hannah, does anybody want to use their rebuttal on that question at all? Wave now, if so. If not, we move on. I see no waves. In which case, Ian, next question, please.
Yeah, so if we look at the makeup of Portsmouth City Council and the councillors there, it's very clear that it's not representative of the diversity of the people that it serves in this city. Do you think that the major parties and even the new Portsmouth Independence Party should be doing something to address this inequality, or should it just simply be the best person for the job? And can I pose that first to Helena, please?
Yes, you can, because this is my area of expertise. I believe absolutely that the party should be doing everything that they can to get more diverse councillors and candidates, whoever they are. It is something I feel very, very strongly about. What we also need to remember, though, that when we talk about diversity, it's not the obvious diversity that you can see. So, I am clearly and obviously a woman, as is Hannah. Shah is clearly and obviously a member of the ethnic minority. However, those are not the only attributes that we should be looking at, and there are hidden disabilities. Sexuality is obviously not as obvious if people choose for it not to be. And I think it's really important that all views are representative, that all people are able to see people like them in positions on the council and beyond. Because actually, if you look at the council, it's not good, but it's not as bad as somewhere like Parliament, which is atrocious. And actually, we should be looking at what we are doing as councillors to make the council more representative, but actually council meetings more available, so have them at different times so that working mothers can get to them and can make sure that they are able to take up that representation. So yes, absolutely, the party should be doing everything that they can to ensure that there is a diversity of thought and speech on the council, and that means getting the right candidates in place.
Thank you very much, Helena. Can I ask that question, please, to Hannah?
Yes, thank you. And I agree that representatives should be diverse, and our party fully supports representation from all backgrounds and communities. I've been a female councillor for the last 8 years, and I've had 5 female colleagues with me during times of that election period. We've had our first female council leader, we have a female MP, but we do encourage anyone wishing to stand for election and would fully support anyone wishing to stand regardless of race, age, gender, sexual orientation. And I think, yes, we should be completely more diverse.
Thank you, Hannah. So Mike, can I ask that question of yourself?
In council, I don't really believe in diversity. I believe in the best person for the job. And if you're gay or whatever you might want to be, just as long as you're the best person for the job, that's for me.
Okay, thank you, Mike. So finally, can I ask that question of yourself, Shah?
Diversity leads to better decision making, and if you can see, our Portsmouth City Council, we have only 2 councillors from ethnic minority, 42 councillors, and we got only 2, sadly. When you have from different background, ethnicity, or either it is disability or LGBT, or you name it, all communities will be represented, and when the decision will be made, that will be according the communities are involved in that area. So more diversity, better decision will be made for the community. And as I myself is from ethnic minority, I will be a good champion for the area, especially for the north, and also it will be a good. I will be a good counselor in the council, and they can also show, look, we got ethnic minority counselor, so they will also feel proud as a council.
Perfect. Thank you, Shah. Anybody want to come out with any other comments?
There's no frantic waving.
Can I
You-
add?
Well, you can't really rebut your own comment. Are you rebutting someone else's comment, Shah, or
Actually, I wanted to add a couple of points, if that was okay.
is it a rebuttal to something one of the other candidates said?
No, they didn't say, actually, and I think that was missed.
Ian, it's you're flying this question.
Go for it, but keep it brief. That would be super.
Okay. No, just I wanted to say, actually, Labour Party, we are proud as a party. We got 4 ethnic minority candidates in this coming election. We have from disability community as well, and we have from LGBT candidate as well. So I think we are proud to have from all ethnic background, you call it, or all the communities we are representing in Portsmouth City Council. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Shah. So then I'm going to throw that open to the any of the other candidates want to put in any kind of similar addition. Please raise a hand.
Okay, that's a clear floor. Okay.
No problem.
Okay, so so Cosham has about last time we can recall it being mentioned in a council meeting, has about £200,000 in its council infrastructure levy fund. What would you do with this money? And I'd like to give that question first to Shah, please.
Okay, so if I will have this money, these funds to spend in my Cosham, I would like to go for road safety first, traffic calming measures, pavements, etc. And my next job will be, or initiative will be, community hubs. I call it community hubs, but it's community centers in all areas of Cosham. As I mentioned before, in Wimmering, they don't have any space to socialize, or even for the kids, etc., teenagers. Lack of teenagers' healthy activities, so youth clubs. Greening our streets, more important, however, mental health issues are more and need to be tackled first. So road safety, I would just is community hubs and youth clubs and more greener streets in Cosham.
Okay, thank you very much, Shah. And the same question, please, to Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
Basically, I would help to clear up the litter by putting more bins in Spain. They have them every few yards, and people would automatically rubbish into the bins, and that would help. And also, I'd like to, as Shah said, I'd like to help the elderly and the people who can't afford things, in a hub, as Shah. So I agree with him on that. Yes, and I've just seen something about being racist on the things there. Yes, I agree. It was a poor choice of words, but believe me, I'm not racist. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And and then that same question, please, to Hannah.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So we have spent our still contributions towards the improvement of car parking at QA Hospital, that has recently gone through. We have also, as I've mentioned before, and sorry to sort of duplicate myself, that we have spent money along the planting of shrubs and greenery along the Southampton Road and in Gurnard Park. In the next few months, there will be the noise detection cameras installed around the circuit of the London Road and Portsdown Hill, and the speed awareness cameras that will be installed into Highbury, into the three roads, into Chatsworth, Highbury and Hawthorne, and along Medina Road. We've also recently spent money on exercise equipment, which will be installed in Cosham Park, and there will be rubbing posts. And everyone sort of questions when I say about rubbing posts. They are, as you would like use a crayon and paper over the top of a leaf. There will be posts that are going to be scattered around Cosham Park and along Portsdown Hill, which are free. They're free for children's families, nurseries and schools could use them, and they will be placed in Cosham Park, and that's what we've spent so far.
Okay, thank you very much. And lastly, the same question to Helena, please.
So I would generally start by asking people what it is that they would like the money to be spent on. But I think one of the things that is dear to me is I would like to spend some money on youth provision for teenagers, to make sure that there is something for them to do that isn't just hanging around on the streets. It's the perennial problem, and has been a problem, I think, since I was a teenager, but actually trying to find something for teenagers to do. And I think that would be an excellent use of the money.
Okay. Thank you very much. Did anybody have, please raise your actual hand if you wanted to come in and rebut to any of the comments made in answers to that question. Lovely.
Marvellous. Well, that brings us to the end of the questions, and thank you all for your answers. And as you have been reasonably succinct, we're going to take the executive decision to give you an extra 30 seconds on your closing address. So you've got a minute and a half to address the people of Cosham as to why you should be their next councillor. So can I start, please, with Hannah?
Thank you. I would be so honoured, privileged and proud to be elected for a third term in Cosham. The area literally runs through my veins, and I love being a part of the community. I love seeing positivity spread through the community. I want it to be the safest area for people to live, whether that's through road safety or through antisocial behaviour. We're lucky to have a really thriving high street, and I want to continue to see that improved, and for people to just enjoy the general area. And so for me, from living there, from working there, from being raised there, I just want it to continue to thrive, and I would absolutely love to continue over the next 4 years and be given the opportunity to serve the residents there.
Thank you, Hannah. So the same question. Why should the good people of Cosham Ward elect yourself, Shah?
Number one, I'm a community champion, and without having any responsibility as a councillor, I've been running my food club to serve across the city all less fortunate families with young kids, organizing community cafe for residents in the whole north of the city. If I will be elected by the residents of Cosham, my Cosham ward, I am visible and I will be, and I think I am the only candidate. The whole ward got my personal contact number, my home address on my leaflet. I have already delivered to them, to over 10,000 residents. So more visibility they will see. And as a community champion, as a community volunteer, I do deserve or even I would say my Cosham residents deserve to have a councillor who is available, approachable, and visible, and they can contact their councillor directly and get their issues resolved by their representative. So I believe I am the only candidate who is serving the community already and will be serving the community better than my other colleagues.
Thank you, Shah. So, Helena, can I ask the same question to yourself? Why should the good people of Cosham Ward be electing yourself?
So I think the people of Cosham Ward should be electing me as a hardworking local councillor, somebody who will be there for them, who will listen to them and will be interested in what their issues are. I specifically think they should be voting Liberal Democrat in this election, just to improve the representation of Liberal Democrats on the council, so that the council can continue to do some of the good stuff that it's done, including being the first council in the country to give out free lateral flow tests when the government gave up the funding for them. So that's why I think the people of Cosham should be voting for me.
Thank you, Helena. So last but by no means least, Mike, why should the Cosham residents be putting an X next to your name?
Well, basically, because I've now retired and I have plenty of time on my hands, and I'll be as open as anybody regarding everything I do. If you take George Magic, for example, he tells everybody what he's doing, and it works very well. That's exactly what I would be doing for. Thank you.
Marvellous. Thank you, Mike. Well, that brings us to the end of the Cosham Hustings. I would like to thank all of our guests for giving up their Sunday evening to share their time with you, and hopefully that's given some insights into the people behind what you read on social media. So thank you all for listening. You've been listening to the Pompey Politics Podcast. I've been Ian Tiny Morris.
And I've been Simon Sainsbury, and our guests, the candidates in the Cosham Ward Hustings, have been Hannah Hockaday for the Conservatives, Asghar Shah for the Labour Party, Helena Cole for the Liberal Democrats, and Mike Jerome for the Portsmouth Independence Party. So thank you all for giving up your Sunday evening, and thank you all to the residents for submitting your questions. You've been listening to the Pompey Politics Podcast. Please do join us again next weekend, 6:27 next Sunday, when we'll be going slightly south and looking at things in Copner.